Thank you, everybody, for being here. I appreciate it. It's nice to see all these familiar faces and the familiar names in the participant chat. Thank you. I realize you all have a lot of places you could be, and that you chose to be here and talking about this topic and talking about our kids says a lot and means a lot. So thank you. Thanks for being here. Um, all right, awesome. Well, I'm not sure how many people know. I know a lot of names in the sidebar, but for those of you who don't know me, my name is Michael. I'm the founder of Giant Leaps, and for the purpose of this chat, I think all you really need to know about me is that I've been a technology entrepreneur for the last 23 or so years. And when I became a father, I became obsessed with figuring out what the ideal education system for the future would look like. And I figured that the best gift that I can give my daughter is to leave the world a better place than I found it. And I think education has the power to do that. So thank you for doing what you do, everybody, and thanks for being here. And let's get going. There's a lot to talk about today. So yeah, this is what we're going to talk about. Everybody's talking about AI. Everybody in every boardroom, in every classroom, and and in every water cooler conversation. It seems to be the most important topic going on right now. So we're going to unpack it a little bit. We're going to talk about it from through the lens of what it means for our kids, and through the lens of what you can do to sort of support your kids in that conversation. So first, welcome to the age of AI. It's an interesting time to be alive right now. In November 22 or November of 2022, a company called OpenAI released a software application called ChatGPT to the public for free. And it did for AI what the iPhone did and the mobile internet did for information. It democratized AI. It made it accessible to everybody for free. And what it also did was set off a tidal wave of technological innovation that I think really has no parallel in human history. And we're gonna dig into that a little bit. But first, let's look at the speed of what's happening right now. For some context, it took 75 years for 1 million people to start using a telephone. To go from 0 to 1 million people took 75 years. It took the mobile phone 17 years to reach 1 million people using it. It took the internet 7 years to reach 1 million users. Facebook took 10 months, so under a year. Does anybody want to guess how long it took ChatGPT to reach 1 million users? Any takers? Let's see, more people joining, adding them. Well, I'll tell you, it took 5 days. It took 5 days to go from 0 to 1 million users. And maybe more impressive than that, it took 6 months to get to 100 million plus users. In 6 months, it went from 0 to 100 million users. There is nothing in human history that's reached that amount of people at that scale, at that speed before. And that's an important thing to kind of digest and to understand the beginnings of what's happening right now. So let's start from the very beginning. What is AI? AI is a branch of computer science, and the aim is to create technology that can solve problems, that can complete tasks that traditionally required human intelligence. So things like recognizing patterns, how a Tesla can determine a tree versus a pedestrian is artificial intelligence in motion. How Siri or Alexa can understand what you say is artificial intelligence in motion. So that's the baseline explanation for what AI is. And what you've all been hearing about a lot is ChatGPT, most likely. The easiest way to think about what ChatGPT is the world's most advanced autocomplete. It's an AI program, it's a chatbot where you can message back and forth with this AI software. And instead of predicting the next word that you'll type, what it can predict are entire sentences, entire paragraphs. And maybe more importantly, it can actually generate text, which is, for the most part, indistinguishable from what a human would create. It can answer questions, write essays, write books, create poetry, tell jokes, do market research. The uses for ChatGPT are every day there's more and more. It seems like nobody's going to run out of uses for it. And you can talk and interact with it like you would a human. So you can ask it to explain more. You can ask it to clarify answers or refine answers. So something like, I don't know, explain the Civil War as if to a 10-year-old and explain the reasons for the war and outline important people and provide a sample timeline of the events, it can do that. And you can continue having a conversation with it to learn more. It's like talking to an encyclopedia where the entire catalog of human knowledge is available on the other end. And knowledge really is just the tip of the iceberg because it has reasoning capabilities. And it's really one of the most powerful things you can do with it right now is help you learn anything you can think of. So that's a primer on what ChatGPT is. An important thing to recognize and why it's being talked about everywhere is because it's revolutionizing almost every industry that you can think of, from healthcare to real estate to retail. In healthcare, AI is being used already and has been used for a while to improve patient care. There's already personalized treatments based on individual genetics. Robotic surgery has been around for a while, and that's very much using AI. Cancer and disease detection, self-driving cars, again, Teslas are AI. Farmers use, so from healthcare to agriculture, farmers use AI to monitor crop health and optimize irrigation. It is literally everywhere, and it's upending industries overnight when it really comes down to it. 7 or 8 months ago, you weren't really talking about it, and now it's absolutely everywhere. So what does that mean a little bit? There was a recent Goldman Sachs report that explained that AI could expose somewhere in the range of 300 million full-time jobs to automation. And the interesting thing, after reading the report, the interesting thing that I found about this was that those jobs were not particularly obvious. So coding and programming is a highly in demand skill today that is one of the most in danger of disruption by AI. Most people wouldn't assume that out of the gate, but it's a fact. Things like creative writing, legal industry jobs, accounting jobs, research jobs, highly paying jobs that used to have a stable career horizon that are being completely upended. I don't personally think that lawyers will be replaced by AI tomorrow, but you can bet on lawyers who use AI replacing those who don't very, very quickly. But that's okay. History tells us that that's okay. And the reason why is because right now, 60% of the workers today are in occupations that did not exist in 1940. So the world is changing very quickly, and maybe quicker than it ever has before, but historically worker displacement has been offset by the creation of new jobs. So what does that mean for teens? What does that mean for our kids right now that are in school and when they are looking toward to the future? What it means is that most of the careers in our kids' futures likely don't exist today. So this idea of a highly dynamic future accelerated by innovation in AI and other tech brings with it a lot for our teens to deal with, a lot. And we're seeing a lot of the symptoms of that. So let's unpack a couple of the things that teens are dealing with and how it might look for them. So first of all, teen emotions. This is one that I really wanted to start with. I think that these shifts in the world and the workforce are impacting kids' emotions and their mental health significantly. And that's really the foundation for everything. If you don't have solid emotional health, if you are anxious and depressed and don't have a positive outlook on the future, then nothing really works after that. Junior Achievement, who you may or might not know, did a study and found that 66% of teens right now are concerned that they may not be able to find a good job as adults because of AI. That was very, very quick. A year ago, nobody was even talking about it. And now 2/3 of teens are worried that they're not going to get jobs after college because of what's happening in the world right now. That's certainly concerning. An interesting thing is in that study as well, that 7 of the 10 teens believe that recent technological innovations are a good thing. So there's a bit of an internal conflict going on there. I'm not sure what to make of that, but it's worth noting. So certainly important. There's a lot of educators on this call and a lot of parents for sure. And I know, being in a lot of these conversations, that most or many of you have a lot of fear and uncertainty around what the future is going to look like. We can't really give our kids certainty around career paths anymore because it just doesn't exist the way it did 30 years ago. And the trickle down effect on teens is very real. If you don't think that they are absorbing that fear and uncertainty, I think you should look again. And I think it's really important to make note of that. And one of the things that we do and we'll talk about is how to reposition this innovation and this change as opportunity and not crisis. So yeah, I'm going to skip some of these words, but I wanted to think about that. Let's talk about what I think some of the skills of the future are in relation to what's happening in the world. So like I said, we don't know what careers are going to exist in the next 10 or 20 years, but we can identify trends. It's likely that most of the jobs your kids will have or our kids will have haven't been invented yet. And AI will absolutely, invariably end up doing many jobs that are currently done by people. I can think of accountants, graphic designers, analysts, researchers, even medical or legal professions being primarily done with AI with human oversight. So I can't imagine what that world is really going to look like in like when the rubber meets the road. But what skills do we think are likely required for that oversight? If we're saying that AI is going to do a lot of our jobs with humans overseeing it, what are the skills that are going to be required to oversee that? And so we've done a lot of thinking around that. And in a world, this is a quote that I like, in a world more and more driven by technology, the skills emerging as the most critical are the skills that are also the most human. And some of the stats that I find interesting around this are this, that 7 of the 10 most requested skills in job postings today are the soft skills: critical thinking, collaboration, communication, leadership. Those skills are in the most demand in jobs related to the future of work. And those skills are also not specifically taught in schools right now. So there's a bit of a disconnect there. And the headline here, the thing that I want you to take away from this is we're talking about technological proficiency. We want students to be technologically proficient, not necessarily have a technological focus. So the powerful combination that we see kids developing is this combination of hard and soft skills. So understanding how AI can be used in around their interests, understanding what data science is and understanding how technology works, and then combining that with a heavy emphasis on the soft skills, on being excellent communicators, on being excellent critical thinkers, problem solvers, collaborators. And if COVID taught us anything, and then I'm hoping kids and people are learning from what's happening in AI, sold. What we saw with COVID was people had the rug pulled out from them and just weren't able to adapt. And these sort of monumental shifts are going to continue to keep happening, and AI is one of them. So being technologically proficient and having exceptional human-centric skills are going to be some of the skills that really set kids apart in this next kind of iteration. Let's talk a little bit about what the AI landscape looks like right now. So it's a really interesting time right now. ChatGPT is currently banned in almost every school in the country, and maybe for good reason. But let's look back at when a revolutionary new tool was introduced in the 80s. It blew people away. In the 80s, the College Board banned the use of calculators on advanced placement exams. And a decade later, they mandated calculators use on that same test. So what does that tell us? Calculators were banned until educators realized that they allowed students to work with more complex problems and challenge them more, not less. So what we see around this is that we see AI tools being banned because they break the business model of assessment and they remove the incentive structure for students to actually do the work. And so the system by which a kid is assessed can be short-circuited. And because human nature is efficiency seeking, why wouldn't a student use one of these tools if they can and get it done quicker? And there's this fear that these tools are going to eliminate things like critical thinking and destroy our kids' ability to assess and destroy our ability to assess the effectiveness of education. But there's one critical thing that I think we're missing here, is that these tools are not going away. I don't really like the term Pandora's box for this because it's really, really negative, but let's just use it because we understand what it is. Pandora's box is now open. These AI tools are not going back in the box. We're not putting them away. So banning the tools in schools is failing to prepare kids for the world that they're going to graduate into. And I think what we should do is embrace them and figure out how they can be integrated and implemented into education. And education really needs to adapt very, very quickly. And at the end of the day, curriculum really should be preparing kids for the real world, not ensuring they can answer multiple choice tests or write an essay by hand. That is absolutely not what they're going to be doing when they graduate in careers. So the path forward is learning to adapt. And yeah, I love this image over here, math teachers protesting against calculator use. And really, I think it's something along these lines, that what's considered cheating today will be a required skill tomorrow. What else do we know? We know that there are incredible advantages to being AI literate. I mentioned it before, but it's worth repeating. I don't think lawyers are going to be replaced by AI, or accountants, or a number of other professions immediately, but they are absolutely going to be replaced by people who understand how to use it. Lawyers, accountants, writers, designers, architects, traders. The list just goes on and on. So we better get cozy with it very quickly. Let's talk about AI and learning right now. Kids are using ChatGPT to write essays, to write papers, to cheat. Anybody here have experience with that? Any like problems with kids in school and turning in assignments, anything like that? I'd be curious to like get some questions afterwards. But kids are using it to cheat. And I think the question that needs to be asked is writing an essay the best way right now to determine the quality of a student's thinking and understanding today, given that we have these tools, right? So what I think we need to do is disentangle the idea that it isn't a massive upgrade to how kids can learn and to their learning toolkit. We need to change the way that we teach these kids and prepare them for an era of AI, and not kind of have them shy away from it. So what we do is well, let's actually, sorry, wrong slide. So the takeaways from this is education is too slow to adapt, and honestly it's far too slow for your kids. If we're talking about teens, they have let's say 5 years, 7 years before they're going to hit college. And do we here collectively think school and education is going to adapt in a short enough amount of time that they are really fully engaged with AI tools and learning how to use them positively? Their history says no. So I think it's on us to figure out ways for them to engage with this and really learn about it and leverage it. AI can help our kids learn in entirely new ways. There is no way around that. An important thing to note, though, it is not infallible and it does make mistakes. Just 2 days ago, a lawyer in New York got in trouble because he used ChatGPT to write a rebuttal or submit something to the judge, and it turned out that ChatGPT just made up cases, just made up a number of cases and cited those cases. And when it was asked about it, it argued that those were true. So it hallucinates. There's a real thing there. It is not infallible. So we want to build. People still need critical thinking and need to double check the facts on this. So the headline here is it can absolutely help kids learn incredibly, but it's not infallible. So some of the things that kids can do with it right now that is pretty mind blowing. from homework assistance. We can use it to help kids understand really complex scientific concepts, explain historical events from various perspectives. Kids can use it to research projects or brainstorm projects. Um, Reading comprehension. They can use it to not only summarize things, but check their own understanding of what they're reading. Ask it to summarize chapters, explain difficult concepts in a book, or explain character perspectives in a book. It's pretty fascinating to watch what it can do. Historical event timelines and motivations of historical figures. It is honestly completely endless. Language learning. For language learning, it's unbelievable. You can have it talk to you in a different language. You can have it teach you another language step by step in a way that just wasn't available before. Here's a quick example. Um, Imagine that a tutor can explain anything from history to from advanced or sorry, imagine that a tutor can explain anything from history to advanced math concepts and adjust the explanation to fit any learner. So what educators have been trying to do for years and years is create more personalized education and do it at scale. And what AI is really allowing is exactly that. So what this is showing over here is I asked ChatGPT, you'll see it again when it scrolls up to the top. I asked ChatGPT to explain the US Civil War as if to a 10-year-old and explain the reasons for the war, outline the important people, and provide a simple timeline of events. Just a very simple prompt. And then it goes in to explain what happened in the Civil War in a very simple way. It outlines the important people, and it's going to give me a timeline of events just like I asked for. And now I could have a conversation with it, explain why Abraham Lincoln did this or that. And it is a personalized tutor right now, and it's free and available. So there's one example of the millions that it really has. Let's touch on this idea of future-proof learners. This is something that we think about a lot in our program. Um, I mean, it's incredibly important to me, this idea that there's such rapid change happening, and AI is just one of the things that's changing the world. There are dozens and dozens of disruptive technologies, emerging disruptive technologies that are going to change everything. And what we want to do is develop people, students, kids to be future-proof learners. And what that means to us is somebody who's not just relevant in today's workforce, but is prepared to thrive in tomorrow's, right? So somebody who is these things, somebody who is curious, adaptable, and engages with learning on a very real level, and is in and continues to learn for their lives, right? So this quote at the bottom here is one that I really like. We need to prepare our kids not just for the world as it is now, but as it might be. Um, I don't know how old most of the people in here are, but I'm 45, and when I was a teenager, this statement maybe didn't have as much. It may, how do I put it? It didn't have the weight that it does now because things weren't changing so dramatically and so fast. Um, and that's just what we're seeing right now. So um, let's talk about AI at home for a little bit. I imagine, well, I don't know. I wonder if the people like hearing this all so far are scared. Are they excited about what's happening? I'm curious. I'm excited to hear some questions at the end. Um, with it or like it or not. And we're at a monumental inflection point where we have the choice to operate from fear or from possibility with our kids. And there will be endless opportunities for them. And it starts with them feeling confident and excited about their future. And what you can do as educators and parents is stoke that excitement by engaging in the conversation. So the conversation today, and I don't mean today like Wednesday, I just mean right now, is AI. And I think that the idea is to get a conversation started with kids. So this isn't really like a curiosity at home. I think this is really just fostering AI curiosity in kids. So you all either work with kids or are parents. So the first task I would give you is talk to your kids about it. They've certainly heard about it. What do they think? Are they worried? Are they concerned? What do they know about it? What don't they know? Learn together. Um, One of the things that I really like is to ask them about their interests. So whatever they're interested in, whether it's gaming, sports, music, art, ask them what they think that's going to look like in 10 years, if it's going to be impacted by some sort of technological change, or how is it going to be impacted by AI. I think that's a really interesting question to get a conversation started. Just give it a shot and see what happens. Here's some silly things I tried with my daughter the other day. Well, not the football one, but yeah, some ideas to like to play with AI with your kids or your students. So have it create a trivia game for you guys about whatever topic you're interested in, football, music, whatever. Write a ridiculous song about my dad, about dad. So that's the prompt I gave it. Just write a ridiculous song about dad, and it came up with a ridiculous song about dad that my daughter found hysterical. And it's just a way to engage and have a kid kind of get their feet like underneath them with and yeah, Stephanie, I see your question. I would love to engage with you as soon as I'm done with this topic or this bit. Yeah. Um, yeah, and finish the story. I mean, this is an interesting one because it shows you the creative potential that it has there. So come up with a one sentence and then say finish this story and include and then insert that first sentence and watch what happens. It is really mind blowing what it can do right now. So play with it and play with it with your students or your kids and see what happens. I'm going to talk about our program for a second. Most of you probably know about Giant Leaps. I think everybody on this call most likely knows a good amount or a little bit about us, but I wanted to share something about our program because I think I think the timing is really interesting and relevant. We solve for the exact thing that schools are struggling with right now. We help kids become better critical thinkers and help them become more curious and more engaged in the conversation about where the world is going. And what we want them to leave with is a positive vision and perspective of themselves in this uncertain, maybe a better word is dynamic future. There's really little rigor in schools around the skills that are widely thought of as the most important for success and for the careers in the future. And that's what we solve for. So our program Future Lab, it's an online, and we're offering our summer program right now. It's an online enrichment program for 13 to 18-year-old students. And what we do is we give them the skills and the mindset they need to be leaders. And I think everybody on this call would agree that mindset and quality of thinking makes a difference in life. And unfortunately, there is no class for that. There's no course for that in school. And Future Lab is that course. It's a master class in thinking. And the way it works right now, we've got a summer program. It's 8 weeks long. Students can start anytime. It takes about 2 to 3 hours per week. It's really perfect for like summer schedules and vacations to work around. And the secret sauce with our program is the curriculum is completely individualized for each student and explores things like AI and emerging tech. And there's one-on-one weekly coaching calls with their dedicated success coach. So it's a one-on-one engagement on top of a personalized curriculum. And it's I think there's a parent of one of the students that have been on our program who may be able to offer some insight afterwards too. But it's anyway, that's how it works. And the goal isn't to have a student complete the program an expert in AI, but what we want them to be is an expert in consequential thinking and communication and have a better understanding of themselves and their interests and their strengths. We want them more curious and engaged in the conversation about where the world is going. We want them to learn real critical thinking skills and digital literacy skills, how to find information, how to discriminate between good and bad information, and use that information to make better decisions. And there's a lot more to the program. But if you're interested in it, just book a call with me and we can talk more about it. I'm going to show you show you a 15-second video real quick. This is Sasha. She just got accepted to Berkeley last week, and this is right when she graduated our program about a year and a half ago.
Yes, I just like the creativity that it brought, and also like my new like outlook. Like I feel like I kind of have a new outlook on like the world.
I love that. Super simple, and that's exactly what we want the kids to feel when they complete the program. Sarah Schmidt asked, "What is consequential thinking?" That's a great question. So, what consequential thinking is thinking about the consequences. So, and I don't, and that's not a, I'm not trying to be patronizing. And I'll explain why I think it's important. Um, I've had meetings and dinners and engagements with a number of innovators in my career, in everything from uh, medical science to genetics to robotics to AI, people that are pushing the envelope and trying to change the world in really real ways. So an example is a guy named Aubrey de Grey. He is the CEO of the SENS Foundation, who's doing the leading research on what he calls curing aging. So he thinks the first person to live to 1,000 has already been born, and his multi-billion-dollar organization is trying to make that happen. Okay, so the question I had for him, and the question that I have for all the people like him, is when you solve that, what happens? What's what happens? What's the world look like when you solve what you're trying to do? And he didn't have a very good answer. And I asked him whose job is it to think about what happens when you've solved the technology problems that you're trying to solve? And he also didn't have a great answer. And I find that over and over again, that the people who are moving this technology forward aren't doing the thinking about what happens when this technology accelerates incredibly quickly. And I find that to be a problem. And everybody should find that to be a problem. And that's what consequential thinking is. So we want these kids to be thinking about this technology, not afraid of it, but thinking about how there's opportunities inside these technologies, and thinking about, well, what happens in a world when this technology is here? And to be the kind of people who are making the right choices about how this technology gets implemented, how the guide rails are built around it, and all those sort of things. So, Sarah, I hope that answers the question. Oh, yep, sorry. Yeah. So our offer to you guys is the first 5 families to book a call or sign up will get $300 off our program, and it's regularly $1,200. So they get it for 900 if they book a call or sign up through the link at the bottom. And I'll share all of this in an email follow up as well. Um, okay, just a couple of takeaways, and then we can open it to some questions. So these are just the headlines here. AI is here and it's changing absolutely everything. I think AI should be embraced as a tool for learning and development, with the caveat in parentheses that it does make mistakes and we should be very aware of its limitations. And one way or another, it is not going back in the box, and we really do need kids, teens, and everybody to start, and adults to be developing the essential skills for the AI future, because it is here. And there's one question that I want to leave you to consider, and I'd love, well, we'll see what happens, but I would love you to consider this question and shop it around to friends and family and people in the industry. If What if we were to find a way to require the use of AI in schools? So this is around education, and it allowed for a richer, more nuanced, more personalized educational experience. So just sit with that and noodle around with it. If anybody wants to email me some thoughts afterwards, or we can discuss it right now, I'm happy to. But yeah, I would like, because the way I see it is just like I talked about with the calculator, that it's now required in certain classes, and it allows kids, it allows them to tackle more complex problems than they would be able to without it. And that's what AI is going to do. So yeah, just think about this, and I'm here for questions.